Sharanagati by Thakur Bhaktivinode. This was, the first English translation was published in the Harmonist during the 1930s. So this is section 1. Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Ma Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskitari Satarani Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay. Part 1. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, the Supreme Lord, out of divine pity for Jiva, with his own associates and his own abode descending, the love of God that can only be obtained with the utmost difficulty to give freely away, teaches to take refuge in him, resignation that is the very life of the devotee, lowliness as the spirit, dedication of self, loving acceptance of him as protector, cherishing faith that Krishna will surely protect, assenting to only acts that are conducive to devotion, promising to renounce conduct that is averse to it. In these sixfold ways, whoever takes refuge in him, his prayer reaches the ears of the gracious child of Nanda. At the feet of Rupa and Sanatan, holding the straw between the teeth, falls Bhaktivinode, clasping both the feet with his hands, crying all the while as he says, I am the vilest, I do realize. Teach thou me resignation and make me the worthiest. Section 2. Forgetting thyself, coming into this world, having suffered manifold pain, at thy feet have I come, thee I shall tell my sorrows. In mother's womb while I lay, in the deadly fetters of bondage, for once, O Lord, showing thyself to me, didst thou abandon thy poor servant. Then thought I, after I have birth, I shall worship thee. I was born, but fallen into the meshes of Maya. There was not a particle of knowledge. A fondled child in the lap of kindred, laughingly I passed the time. The affection of the father and others made me forget. This world did taste sweet. By slow degrees, day by day, growing up as a boy, with the other boys did I play. In a few more days the power of understanding was aroused. I conned my lessons night and day. In the pride of learning, I journeyed to many a place, earning wealth, supporting kindred with all my heart. Hari, thee, I forgot. Now in old age, Bhaktivinode cries, feeling so sad, not worshipping thee the days passed in vain. What help is there now? In pleasures of learning I spent the time in highest confidence. I never served thy feet. Thou art the refuge now. As intently my studies I pursued, hope increased. Knowledge was the path I thought. The hope was unfulfilled. Knowledge proved weak. That knowledge was ignorance. I know now. All worldly knowledge is treasure of Maya. Thy service it obstructs. Breeding attachment for this transitory world, it makes an ass of Jiva. Turned into such an ass, the load of the world on my back I carried long. In old age, for want of power to enjoy, nothing now pleases me. Life has become misery now. The knowledge has proved untrue. The torment of untruth has grown intolerable. The learning is now the pointed shaft. Except thy feet, there is no other treasure in the world. Bhaktivinode, quitting his hold of worldly knowledge, now only values thy feet. When in youth for earning money, I felt a boundless ambition. By rites of religion, my helpmate's hand I did espouse. Setting up a home in her company, my time long I spent. Many a son and daughter were born. My spirit was broken utterly. The burden of family increased day by day, until under its weight I was forced to halt. Old age arriving beleaguered me. My mind was always disturbed. Worried by disease, racked by cares, my heart scared by every want, seeing no way, in utter darkness, I'm now oppressed with fear. The world's strong current does not abate. The terror of death is nigh. After finishing worldly duties, I shall worship thee. That hope is in vain. Now hearken, O Lord, I'm utterly helpless. Bhaktivinode says, without thy mercy all is despair. I now crave the shelter of thy feet. My life is ever given to sin. In it there is not a particle of good. Torment to others, much I have caused. I have pained all jivas. For my own pleasure, I was never afraid of sinning. Selfish and devoid of pity as I am, dejected by happiness of others, always untruthful. The misery of others has been my delight. Endless are the selfish desires that fill my breast. To anger and insolence I am so prone. Ever drunk with vanity, bewitched by worldliness, I wear malice and pride as cherished ornaments. Ruined by sleep and idleness, abstaining from all good works, I'm ever most zealous in evil deeds, for the sake of worldly fame. An adept in the practice of duplicity, I covetous victim of greed am I. Even a sinner shunned by all the good, and a constant offender I am, void of all good work, always evilly disposed, and poisoned with various misery. Now, in old age, bereft of all help, humbled and hoping not, Bhaktivinode at the feet of the Lord tells his grief. My life is ever given to sin. In it there's not a particle of good. Torment to others, much I have caused. I have pained all jivas. So that appears to be a repeat of the previous section, so we'll go on. Hear, O Lord, the tale of my sorrows, the poison of worldly enjoyment. I have sipped, pretending it was the nectar, but now the sun is setting. And the diversions of play, my childhood, my boyhood and studies I wasted. There arose no consciousness of good in me. For enjoying my youth I devised a home and settled down in it. Children and friends did fast multiply. Old age soon arrived, and all joys departed. With disease I was smitten down. The senses lost their vigor, the body grew feeble, the heart was sad, lacking enjoyment. Missing the elixir of devotion, what help is there for me? Thou art the friend of the fallen. I'm the worst of sinners. In mercy lift me to thy feet. Judging me, thou wilt find no good. Have pity, judge me not. The nectar of thy lotus feet, make me taste. Do thou deliver, Bhaktivinode. Lord, this is my prayer at thy feet. The twigs of thy holy feet, my desert mind not seeking, was enamored as stony worldliness. Was in the strength to rise again, I am unable to attain. Mourning I pass my days. Lord of the humble, thou art called, thy feet I beseech. Baseness such as mine, nowhere else is to be found. Give me thy grace. In the company of thy own, in the pleasures of thy talk, I shall give up all evil. In thy abode, singing thy name, to spend night and day is my hope. For the shade of thy feet, most deliciously cool, praise thy servant, Bhaktivinode. With a mind so evil in the midst of this world, forsaken I lay. Thy own servant, a superior person, thou didst send. Pitying me, fallen as I was, He came to me and said, "Thou seemst humble. Listen to good words that will cheer thy heart. To deliver thee, Sri Krishna Chaitanya has appeared in Navadvip. Many another like myself, as humble and as base, he has conducted safely across the sea of the world. The promise of the Vedas to fulfill, the son of Brahman, a golden color, bearing the name of Mahaprabhu, fills with ecstasy Nadia in the company of the super-ascetic, his brother. The Supreme Lord Chaitanya, who is no other than the son of Nanda, by the free gift of his own name, has wrought the deliverance of the world. Go thou also and receive thy salvation. Hearing these words, I have come, O Lord, for the shelter of thy feet. I have done no good, I have had no knowledge, I have never worshipped thy feet, given to worldly pleasures and self-deceived. I am now encompassed by darkness on every side. Thou, O Lord, art the fountain of mercy. At thy lotus feet I surrender my soul. May thou afford to be kind. This is thy promise. He who seeks thy protection, no harm will know. Sinner as I am, finding no other way, I now beg for thy favor. Every other desire wholly discarding, oh, when shall I be thine? Thou art the eternal master. I am the eternal servant. This is the sum of Bhaktivinode's musings. Bhaktivinode, crying out in grief, narrates the story of himself. Lord of my life, how tell thee the story of my shame? There is no sin that I did not commit. Thousands of times and more, O Lord. The fruit of those transgressions weighs me down in this life. Who is now to blame? At the time, knowing well, deliberately I refused to consider the end. Yet now I want to be saved. According to the offense, punishment thou wilt award, and I shall be put into the bondage of this world. Even so, though the cycles of those births in the company of thy devotees, may my mind ever repose at thy feet. This wise, cunning desire of mine I lay at thy feet. The pride of my heart is gone. Kindness to the humble, thou unalloyed mercy is now Bhaktivinode's only hope. Mind, body, family, whatever is mine, youthful son of Nanda, I tender at thy feet. In weal and woe, in life and death, I am relieved of all anxiety, preferring those feet of thine. Save me, or slay me as thou wilt. Thou art the master of thy eternal servant. If it be thy will to cause me to be born, may I have birth in the home of thy devotee. In the dwelling of thy servant may I be born a worm. I have no desire to be born a Brahma averse to thee. I crave the boon of the society of thy devotees, who is without a particle of desire for enjoyment or freedom from misery. All I find in thee, father, mother, lover, son, lord, preceptor, and husband. Hear, O Krishna, says Bhaktivinode, Lord of Radha, thou art my life. Whatsoever is meant by the words I and mine, merciful Lord, I lay at thy feet. Lord, myself am no longer mine, even though now I become solely thine. The jiva inhabiting this body with the word I gives up all egotism, and forthwith the pride of being thine takes possession of the heart. My all, body, home, followers, brothers, friends, wives, sons, chattels, way, house, all these now are thine, and myself thy servant. I am now a mere occupant of thy house. Thou art the owner of the house. I obey thy bidding. Thy pleasure is now my only endeavor. My virtues and defects of the gross and subtle body are now no longer mine. I'm redeemed. To thy will my will is subjoined. Bhaktivinode from this day forgets himself. Lord, there is now nothing left that may be called mine. Thou alone art my father, friend, and brother. Friend, wife, sons, daughters are now thy servants. My efforts for them are on thy account. Wealth, followers, house, way, inasmuch as they belong to thee. For thy service I earn riches and bear the expenses of thy household. I know neither evil nor good, I only serve. a watchman set to guard the proprieties of thy household. My senses I exercise according to thy discretion, and desire to hear, see, smell, and taste. Nothing I do for my own pleasure. Thy pleasure is the essence, says Bhaktivinode Thakur. In truth, all things belong to thee. The jiva is not their master. Wandering by reason of his error of I and mine, he suffers sorrow and fear. The vanity of I and mine, the bound jiva thinks in his heart of hearts to be the only treasure that is his own. By reason of such vanity, hurled into this worldly course, I suffer the pangs of a drowning man swimming about in the ocean of the world. Taking refuge at thy feet that save from all fear, this day I dedicated myself to thee. The vanity of I and mine, the bound jiva thinks is his heart of hearts, to be the only treasure that is his own. This strength alone, O Lord, on me bestow, that may enable me to keep at a distance all egotistic pride. May the spirit of renunciation be firmly rooted in the heart, and not prove to be momentary like the cleanliness of the elephant after bath. Bhaktivinode at the feet of Prabhu Nityananda begs for the grace that delivers from all vanity. Lord, this I lay at thy feet. I'm fallen and most vile. This the three worlds know. There's no sinner so base as myself in the whole world. In the universe there is no one whose offense equals mine. Those sins and offenses, as thou knowest, I feel ashamed even to disown. Whither shall I betake myself for shelter except to thee? Thou art the ruler of the powers that be, darling of the Lord of Braj. This world of thine, thou permeates all things. Thou wearest out the offense that is committed towards thyself. Thou indeed art the refuge of those whose steps have gone astray. What else is there besides thyself? Even so, all who offend against thee will ever seek thy refuge. Bhaktivinode, seeking the shelter of thy feet, at thy feet surrenders himself this day.